morning, everyone. My name is Steve Erickson, and I will be your presenter today for today's Lunch and Learn What is New with Sage 300 2019. 2019 is a pretty big release for the Sage 300, technology changes, and we'll be talking about those as we move forward. Up on the screen, if you can see the screen, and I hope you can, is the traditional desktop of the Sage 300 environment. So this traditional desktop hasn't changed a lot structurally over the last 3 or 4 versions, but they continue to clean it up and modernize it and make it look like a more modern app. But functionally, it is still the same application that you're very much used to. You see here administrative services, just some additional icons breaking up and giving you a new report, user authorization report. This is a report that's interesting. It shows the users that are set up in the system versus the users that are actually applied or still in. Many of you may know that when you go in and create a user, you actually create a user in a file in your shared data location called users.ism. You then go ahead and you create the user's profile here in this function and their security matrices. But when you come and remove a user from this structure, they don't always get removed. And one of the things that this report can do is show you who is set up in the system, and then also show you if you have a user with no settings in it, it means you have a user sitting in users.ism that does not relate to a user in the SQL database or vice versa. And so it's a cleanup aspect that sometimes needs to be done to get that under control. That's just one of the newer reports, streamlines that functionality. As you continue to just look at things, again, it is just a cleanup at this level. But the big change in the traditional desktop of the Sage 2019, and frankly throughout the application, is global search. So this function right up here in the top chat brings up this search bar in place where we can go through and look for transactions, vendors, customers, journal entries, etc. And we're looking for it across the entire database. So to activate this in your new 2019, we come in and hit the refresh button. That builds out the indexing, can take a few minutes. But once you have that built out, you can come in here and enter a piece of data. We're going to look for anything from Ronald Black. So we are just going to type in Black here and then go ahead and hit the Finder. And it returns back the customer, 1200 Ronald Black. Also, a couple of purchase orders that have gone through. Now, if I click on a particular aspect, there's nothing really here. It's just telling me what I need to know and then driving me to the screen or opening the screen where I can see that information. So it does have the drill down off of the global search, and we can come into the customer or we can come into the purchase order here that we find during the transaction. The global search allows you to search any piece of data across the entire database. We don't have to necessarily go to a particular module or know a lot about it. And if we want to, we can, if we think we're going to get too big a search, we can come in and look for this and come in and change our information here, and maybe we just have I'm just going to flat out guess, maybe we have a $1,000 or $100 payment here, and I can just come through and let this look. Now, I did not pre-test this one. I did pre-test Ronald Black, so I knew what was going to come up. But the point is you can go through and look at anything across these transactions. And that is a add in the 300. Now note, we are looking at 300C or 300 Cloud. Many of you have made this move. This is what the move to the subscription-based way of acquiring and owning and using the Sage 300 environment. The Sage 300C gives you global search. It also gives you the notes function. We'll look at a little bit actually over in the web screens, and it gives you a few other little niceties that we're not going to look at today. So within this Sage 300 environment, as I said, everything is as you're used to. Big addition to the desktop is the cleanup and the global search functionality. When we move on and look at some of the other new features in the 2019 environment, we do move over to a browser. And so here we bring up our browser sessions for Sage 300. I'm going to log out of this so that you can see this, and we'll just start it again. This is this is Internet Explorer, but this is a pure internet browser play coming to a URL installed in your environment. You can run this inside of your network. You can push this outside of your network with appropriate web security. You'd want to at least be on HTTPS so that you are encrypting. You probably would want to put certificates in place if you are not going to run it across the open web, but it is an HTML5 environment, and so it will allow for straight web browsing without any pre-installation onto a desktop. This we've shown this before. This has been in the works since the 2016 version, so this is the third version with these screens in place. But what has changed now is the technology layers have been enhanced, the performance has been enhanced, and we have the pretty much the full suite. There are a couple modules that are still missing. Job costing is still missing and is under development, but it's actually now coming to a point where performance-wise, we may not put this in my accounting department, but we may extend it out to the warehouse rather than install a lot of workstations at the warehouse or other uses at this point. And so it becomes an interesting play because we finally have the performance we need. And let me go through and just find a couple of these. So if we go to order entry, we can come in. This is one of the bigger screens to open. I am sitting on a singular server here, so SQL is loaded with me. I do have 32 gigs of RAM dedicated to this demo server, and you can see that it comes up, reasonably fast. And you can scale this with processors and memory to probably be a little bit faster than this. This has all the functionality of the desktop. So it is a browser. You can come in here and place an order. You can come in and look up or invoice or do anything else that you want to do in this screen. The other thing that the web browsers now do, I'm going to go through here and open a customer screen. So now I have a customer screen open. Where did the order entry screen go? They're both open at the same time here. And over on our right-hand side, we have our tools area. And our tools area allow us here to see the open screens and simply pop between the two as needed. And so this allows you to come in at the beginning of the day, open customers, open inventory control, open order entry, and then simply manage them across the open Windows screen on the right-hand side to give you navigation. So you don't always have to come back here to this navigational pool. And in fact, once you get things open, this little arrow on the side can push it out of the way so that it doesn't take up a lot of space. So as we come through and work with the system, we can, again, as I said, switch back and forth. We can come down here and see recently used windows. So if one of them did get closed, we can see which ones have been recently used and open them back up from here. We also then have a reporting function where we can come in and hang specific reports that we use and hang them right here so that I don't have to browse into accounts receivable, reports, age trial balance. I could actually hang that report here so that it's readily available to me, or hang custom reports here so they're readily available to me. And then inquiries. Here we have, payments inquiry. or custom inquiries that can be put together. Again, these are things that you can come in, base them on different inquiries that are available in the system, pre-configure them, and hang them on a separate menu. The idea here, again, just like the reports, is that you don't have to go into the module, browse down to the module and menuing system and find that inquiry screen as you do on the traditional desktop. Here you can hang all these and access the ones that are important to you while you are hanging on them. And then last in the tool menu is the notes function. So this is the standard notes function. It's available in both the traditional desktop and the web screens. It does require that you are on the 300 cloud version. It's one of the features that come with it. These HTML5 screens, the notes, the global search are all part of the 300 cloud edition. And as you make that move to 300 cloud and as you upgrade to the 2019 version in the future, these are the functionalities that become very, very prevalent and very useful in a performance and multi-use environment. So here we have, let's just go look up a particular customer here. And we're just recalling the find. Now note, every time I call up a new screen that hasn't been opened for a while, it is going to take a second for it to configure it. It is an IIS function, and so caching becomes important on the IIS environment. And here we come back through, we see Ronald Black's information. We can come through and look at contact and process and optional field information or statistics or anything that you see in the standard desktop you can see here. But I can also just come over here and pop open my notes and see if there's any notes for Ronald Black. And if not, I could actually create one and come through here and say, desk lamps always needed, because if you've ever sat through a demo, you would see that. Now here I can come through and say, which customer is this note for? It's for 1200, and then I can go ahead and save this. And then when I come through later and call up him, that note will be available. And as you see that right here, now that I've got the note created and attached to 1200, we can see the note coming up. I can edit it if that's allowed. I can delete it. But I can also go back to the desktop, and if I had notes active and functioning for customers there as well, then it would go ahead and when I type in 1200 in the traditional customer screen, it would pop a traditional note screen or a box for the notes so that you can see those notes. The idea here is it doesn't matter if you are on our traditional desktop, it doesn't matter if you're accessing it through the HTML5 cloud environment, you are looking at the same data set with the same feature set with the same functionality, even down to the global search functions. And if I come down here, I've got a search key right here. And if I hit that search key, it brings up the global search window. And if I go in and type Black like I did in the traditional desktop and hit the finder, it returns the same three functions. And if I go ahead and click on this, it now drives to a web screen based or the HTML5 environment based screens into the purchase order functions. You'll notice it says job costing is not available in the web screens. This sample data has purchase orders linked to job costing. That's why we're getting that error. That would not happen in a database that does not have job costing active and running in it. Now, how do I get rid of these screens? I told you they're open all the time. If I go over here to my most recent, you can see all the screens that are in place, but you'll also see this X next to them. And so if I go ahead and simply hit the X, that simply cuts out the screen that I don't need anymore, leaves me with my two active screens in place. But remember, I have this recently used function. So I can always come down to the recently used and grab the global search from here and reopen that global search functionality. So I don't necessarily have to even browse back to wherever I got that from. I simply grab it from the most recent environment and come through and load that. One of the things that I want to stress is that in this move to 2019, in this move to really starting to utilize the HTML5 environment with virtually all the modules other than job costing, as we said, but actually getting some performance out of them and being able to run reports out of them. Now what we're getting, though, is part of this move to 2019 is the old functionality, the old portal. If any of you were using that portal functionality, it was used to integrate to CRM, and some people used it for inquiry and other search functions. That old portal environment has now been retired. And so it's not available here in the 2019 version. So make note of that if you are using anything from the portal, that those functionalities will go away with the move to 2019 and are replaced with things like the ability to pin searches here, inquiries, as we looked at before, or the ability to pin reports to the HTML5 browser-based interface. That was much of what people used the portal for. They could hang reports and they could hang inquiries on the old portal infrastructure. But that portal was built on technology that Google had released about 10 years ago and had stopped supporting almost 5 years ago now. And so although we kept it in place while we created the new HTML5 environments and the new web API, it was always known that that old portal was a dead man walking. With no support from the original developer for the original technology, we knew it had to be removed, and this is the version that it's being removed at. And so the change then is you don't have your portal for your inquiry. You should be moving those reports and inquiries here to your HTML5 environment. But the other big thing that's coming through here, the other big thing that we see is the integration of CRM. So this is CRM 2018 Release 3. I have logged it in here for us. It has come out to its dynamic dashboards. If you've not seen this before, this is the fresh new look. The traditional look of CRM, if you're a CRM user, is still available to you. You just have to change the layout, but this is the new layout. It's been around a couple of versions now. So you get your dashboards, calendars, calendar lists, the forecasts and stuff across the top here, your My CRM, Team CRM, reports and marketing. Remember, those all used to run down the left-hand side. Your search functionality is here, so you can search anything, including keyword searching across the database. You have your alerts and notifications coming here. So they pop up here where they used to pop in a band across the top. And then you have other things, your favorites and your most recent bar here, as well as your profile, so I'm an administrator logged in here, so I get to come through, log off, or go to the administrative menu, or go to my preferences here. So what's interesting in the new CRM with relationship to what's new in 2019 is the integration is completely updated now. So if we go over and look at the original integration under administration, we'll see that in the past, everything used to be based on a .NET infrastructure. And when you went in and set it up, you set up your database and you put your server, and then you had to put your .NET, your 9,000 ports in there for your .NET forwarding capability. Now we come in and we just put our database, our name, and the HTTP address for the web screens, the server that is serving up the web screens, assuming they're not both on the same platform. Well, even if they are, which they are here, you still put that server environment in place. Then when you come through, everything is based on that. So when we synchronize tables, when we import customers, when we do any of the functions that come through here, I have not imported vendors yet. We'll go ahead and do that. So we simply click on the button. Through the web API, it makes a call back to the database and will import all the vendors up into the CRM system. And you can see it takes a few minutes. It has to make the call, it has to query all of it, and then it brings them in. It builds the vendor files for them in CRM so that they are readily available, and then it will report back to us here in a second how many customers, or in this case vendors. I've already done the customers, so it will report back to us how many vendors that it has imported into the system. Now this is interesting because you can create customers from within the CRM environment, and many of us have been doing that over the years, and we've had trouble doing it at times. The old .NET infrastructure based on the old portal infrastructure often leaked memory. So we would have to reboot CRM servers on a regular basis to clear those problems. And if you were trying to create someone from within CRM, you could get an addressing problem, or you could get a memory resource problem. And now that we continue on, and you see here that it brought in 33 vendors and built them in. But now that we have changed over to the web API, it is significantly interesting, because if I come over here to recents and I grab Mr. Ronald Black, who is a customer of mine, I can see in CRM that it's Mr. Ronald Black. I can see his address, who he is. His first one, we've got all the quick look and information and notes and communications and opportunities and cases and all the things that CRM has to offer. But I also now have these down here, but as they did in the older versions with the portal. But now that I come in and click on a customer, as an example, I no longer get a customized CRM screen. I actually get the web screen out of Sage 300. So this screen here that we are looking at is this screen right here. So if I go to AR customer right here and I come back to the front tab, this is the same screen that I have in the CRM system, even the tabs across the top. So what we have done is, rather than have to rewrite screens in an ASP page as we had to do in the old version, now what we do is we are embedding the actual HTML5 screen from Sage 300 into the CRM system. And what does this mean? This means I can actually create a customer right from here, right? I can actually look at not just their address, but their optional fields or their statistics or any other information that is related to this AR customer while I'm in their CRM screen. So I no longer even have to have access to the Sage 300 environment if I am, say, a salesperson and I just want to look up some stuff, or if I'm in the warehouse and I want to query orders for this person. I can come here, I can go to order entry, and I can now look at say all orders or all shipments or all invoices. And so if I'm working with a customer, I can come in here, and what I'm actually doing is opening the query, the inquiry screen that I could open inside of the Sage 300 environment. And if I wanted to go look at an invoice, I simply click on that invoice, and again, it opens the same 300 screen and brings me back the invoice that I can look at, all from within my CRM environment. We can work more readily inside of CRM. We can look up orders, invoices, credit notes, etc. We can scroll down through items. We can click on items and drill back. Just everything and anything that we would do in the Sage 300 web screens, we can now do here. So we can see locational information. We can drill down and look at quantities by locations here. And I'm going to start closing some of these up. But it is all the functionality that is here. Nothing's changed. So if I go here and I say that I want to go to order entry, look up any orders, look up any invoices, look up orders by customer, whatever needs to be done, or create a new order from within the CRM environment. So as I pop back and forth between the two, we're back in CRM here. It literally starts to come back to, why do I even need the Sage 300 environment open if I'm using the CRM environment? And the real answer is you probably don't. So you could come through here. Again, you could just take a look at anything here. You come through all orders, all shipments, sales history, customer price list, lot and serial inventory. So if I come into all orders, I can come in or I can create new, but I can also come through and add AR inquiries in here. So if I want to see an aging trial balance, again, which are all screens that you can call up inside your Sage 300 environment, but I can do an inquiry here and bring up a particular customer's information. If I am going to promote them to Sage 300, I can do that right here. Of course, this is already linked. I do have an unlink button in place here as well. So this is what we're looking at in the Sage 300 2019 release. You've got these multiple areas that are really starting to tie together nicely. Our traditional desktop environment here that we started looking at the beginning, with the new, fresh, clean looks and the global search functionality here, allows you to search the database but still use it traditionally. This still allows for both the intelligence reporting but the standard FR reporting as well. Here's your financial report, your FR reporting. When you do use the Sage 300 environment up here, FR is not usable in the web portal. It is not a web product. The standard intelligence reporting is not usable up here. What they have created and what they've developed is what they call Sage Intelligence Cloud, and that can be linked into your web browser information. So if you're going to go pure browser, then we have to look at how to move your existing financial reports into the Sage 300 reporting cloud, because that's where financial reports will be run at in the browser-based sessions. And then finally, just in recap, we moved to the CRM integrations as well, so that we can now tie everything together through the web APIs and not need those .NET infrastructures. But that also then allows more customizations, more functionality. You can now write screens inside of CRM that look to the web API and recall data back into CRM. And it's not the complexity that it was under the .NET environments. And so we pick up even more synergy between the CRM environment, the traditional desktop, and the HTML5 environment, all coming to you from the Sage 300 2019 and the Sage CRM 2018 releases, and your move to the Sage 300 Cloud, or Sage 300C as it was previously called, version of the Sage 300 environment. And that's what I have for you today, and I will thank all of you for attending today. And note that this has been recorded and will be pushed up to our YouTube channel, as all of our Lunch and Learns are. So you can go to YouTube and simply search for Frontline Systems, and you will find all of our past Lunch and Learn sessions as well.